The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is reaching out, or has reached out reportedly, to law enforcement entities wanting to discuss the logistics of a Trump indictment that could come as early as next week. This is huge. This is absolutely wild. And as I said, Manhattan District Attorney's Office, in regard to the Stormy Daniels case, starting to have discussions for what could come next week about the logistics of a Trump indictment. Take a look at this being reported in a place that many of these viewers do not want to be hearing this news on Fox News.
Fox News Alert now, and we are learning that the Manhattan DA's office has asked for a meeting with law enforcement ahead of a potential Trump indictment. This is coming to Fox News from a source in the courts. The meeting, which was requested yesterday and has not been set yet, is to discuss logistics for some time next week, which would mean that they are anticipating an indictment next week. The same source who's familiar with the planning said they will go over security preparations in and around the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Secret Service will take the lead in what they will allow or will not allow. The source cautioned, mentioning, for instance, that the decision to handcuff the president, a former president, or not, they will set the tone and will escort him into the courtroom. There will be coordination between all of us, the source said, but we will defer to the Secret Service. The battle will be between Secret Service and DA Alvin Bragg. They will decide how and when he'll get into the building, and they are not going to leave him. The source believes that the former president will still have to be fingerprinted and processed like every other defendant. So
there it is. Trump indictment's coming very, very soon. He'll be escorted into the court, fingerprinted, processed like everyone else, if this indeed happens. And then another thing just to include in this conversation is, and I'll show you a clip here on CNN of this being discussed, kind of waiting to see some relevant Republican figures' response to this. How will they respond if it indeed happens, including Ron DeSantis? Here's this.
Here's the thought experiment. This happens in 2 weeks. What do the other Republicans say? They have to defend Trump, right? DeSantis, who otherwise is happy to see Trump, will say, well, this is political prosecution. Suddenly half the country is going to believe right off the bat that this is a political vendetta by the Democrats. No Republican's going to defend.
You think the governor will actually say that of Florida will actually support and say, oh, kind of the way that Hillary. You think that he'll say that it's a political persecution?
Yes. Sure. I think every Republican will have to say that because they need to win over voters who still like Trump, even if they want to move on from Trump. But this, when was the Stormy Daniels thing? 2008 or something like that?
Well,
no. When
heard
the
about
actual
election,
incident,
yes.
right? So then he pays her off in October of 2016. Does something that John Edwards ended up getting off for, somewhat different, maybe legally. I just think it's the worst possible case to lead with. When he tried to overturn the election results and purposely stole classified documents and wouldn't give them back.
So I do agree that Ron DeSantis and other individuals who are wanting to appeal to Trump's base will play into likely the witch hunt narrative. But then the moderate Republicans will kind of have a hands-off approach, let the legal system work it out. But we'll see all of that, actually how it ends up playing out, possibly very soon. But then also the point that he ended with there is something we've discussed, which is, even though of course Trump should be held accountable for any of his violations of the law, and that is absolutely the case. And so if there's something to charge him with the Stormy Daniels case. It is unfortunate that just the timing has worked out this way because of how significant some of these other investigations are into Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, for example. As I said yesterday, throw democracy in the garbage can, install himself as president despite losing the election, because that's also something he could be getting charged for eventually, and investigations are actively going on into that. It does make the Stormy Daniels hush money payment feel insignificant in comparison, and thus it being first is unfortunate, even though it's a massive moment, and if he broke the law, he should be held accountable for it, even in the Stormy Daniels case. And in case you're wondering, as I've outlined before, what would be illegal in regard to that has to do with, and to kind of walk you through. So Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, paid Stormy Daniels shortly before the 2016 election to not come out with the story of their alleged affair. And he paid her $130,000. Trump then paid Michael Cohen back. And the way that he did that could have been falsifying business records, trying to identify this money as legal expenses, even though, of course, it was not legal expenses, as he paid back the $130,000 to Michael Cohen that Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels. So that's the first, falsifying business records. The second has to do with campaign finance law, and this being a direct attempt to influence the 2016 election, but not being disclosed as a campaign contribution. And so that would be a second huge moment. We could actually be seeing this take place. A former president, current presidential candidate, being charged criminally. And it all could be happening very, very soon. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get the full bonus show every single Saturday, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley. Link in the description.